This is the Star Wars The Black Series from the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi. Retro carded series of Black Series figures. We have Darth Vader. This Darth Vader figure is looking pretty awesome. Looking to be the best Darth Vader figure we've had from the Black Series line. It is definitely a great update from that old blue line Darth Vader Black Series figure we had like years ago, which I've thankfully sold off. I picked up this figure from my local Toys R Us store for about $29. Let's get this bad boy out of packaging. And here is the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi Darth Vader out of the packaging. And the figure looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a great display piece. You can pose it as much as you want. You can put it on your shelf and it'll look absolutely gorgeous. As a playable figure, playability wise, not so much. Let's take a closer look at the details of this new Return of the Jedi retro carded Darth Vader. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 17.5 centimeters tall, or about 6 3/4 inches tall. It's a pretty tall Darth Vader figure. In fact, he's the tallest out of all the figures that I have. And for comparisons, here we have the Kenobi Darth Vader, or essentially the Red Line Episode 4 Darth Vader, which uses the same buck. They just tucked the tunic underneath his pauldron, whereas that Red Line has it over the pauldron. Here's the Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader. It's looking to be the shortest out of all the 3 Darth Vaders. And look at that lightsaber. I don't know if it's just oxidation, but I think I got this figure with this pinkish lightsaber. It looks god-awful together with these 2 other lightsabers. And here is the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi Black Series retro carded Luke Skywalker. And as you can see, he is the tallest by about 2-3 millimeters. So we have the evolution of Darth Vader from when he became Darth Vader, when he got his armor after Mustafar, got Empire Strikes Back, and now Return of the Jedi. Right now, I'm going to tell you, I think we can classify this one as a brand new mold. The legs appear to be recycled. I think the legs, the hips, the knees, the feet, just, I guess, painted differently or sculpted in a shinier plastic than the other 2. They did change the torso. It has now a ball joint articulation, which we'll talk about later. The shoulders now have a butterfly joint. Again, I'll show that off later. And then they remolded the forearms so that they could have this gimmick, which I'll show off later. The head sculpt obviously is different. This one has the gimmick. You can also see the evolution of that helmet, which is very, very accurate to how it looked like in the movie. It started out as wide and then became narrow and then became like taller as the series progressed. And I think it's in perfect scale with this Luke Skywalker figure. And in the movie, I've always seen him, he's much taller. He felt like he was like 7 feet tall, and Luke was really much shorter than his father. Now onto the details of the figure. As you can see, the new head sculpt has this gimmick of having the removable helmet, headpiece, and the mask, and it reveals a brand new sculpted elder Anakin Skywalker. Brand new Anakin Skywalker head sculpt, which is a much better looking head sculpt than the one we got for the blue line. And what I love about this head sculpt, it is a separate piece from this part of his helmet, and allows you better versatility. I think the sculpt is better, and it allows more sculpting underneath that helmet, which is actually very, very nice, nicely detailed. And I'm going to go right to it. I think what collectors are hating about this figure, and I personally, what really puts this figure down for me is the actual gimmick. I thought the gimmick was great on paper, but the way they executed it, you can see those grooves right there. That's really for these sort of small, thin tabs on the underside of the mask. It's supposed to lock it in. It kind of does, but it doesn't stay in place. And I think that's the main thing that peeves collectors with this gimmick. It's a nicely thought out gimmick, but poorly executed. The helmet just does not stay on. It just rests on top of that mask. And I think there's supposed to be some tabbing mechanism, but it feels like it's trying to grip the helmet or the mask, but it's not. It just, the slightest nudge and it will fall off. And that can be very annoying when you're posing this figure. It's a shame because the way the helmet has been sculpted, look at those red shiny eyes. Not a big fan of that silver mask, silver cheek paint on the helmet, but I think it's been a staple for these Darth Vader head sculpts. I love the glossy, shiny plastic. I think this is the shiniest helmet we've seen from the Black Series. As you can see, the other, this is like not even polished. This was kind of polished, but look at how shiny this thing is. It's like a jet black, high gloss finish, and I love that. Now, obviously, the pauldron has been sculpted differently. It's a new sculpt, new paint. The electronics are also new, new sculpt. The amount of attention they pay to the detail on this figure is exactly the kind of treatment we've seen with previous Darth Vader figures, and I think they just put it up a notch with this one. The cape is the exact same fabric as they've used with those previous Darth Vaders, and I love that it kind of stands on its own even without a wire. So when you're posing the figure, you can have the waist cape and the cape sort of like flapping in the wind without any support. I love that. I love that it's premium grade, soft goods material. Let's talk about articulation very quickly. Neck is on a triple ball joint, as we've seen with most of the Black Series figures now. You've got this new ball joint on his torso. You've got the butterfly joints on the shoulders. Arms can go in and out, forward and backward 360. Hinge elbow with a swivel. The wrists have swivels, and on this figure, the wrists now go up and down, which is very different from the previous figures that we've seen that go in and out. And I love the fact that they finally did that because that allows a better grip for the lightsaber. Instead of just holding the lightsaber upright this way, he can now point it at his opponents, like Luke. Impressive, most impressive, but you are not a Jedi yet. The hips are on ball joints. Forward, backward, do the splits. You got a thigh swivel, double jointed knees. I think this is the old joint because it still has the pins, much like the two other Darth Vader figures. No boot cut. Ankles go up and down on the feet and have the rocker tilt. His other gimmick is you can replace the forearm. I think they've modified this so it's easier to unpeg that and unplug that and replace it with the cut off hand that Luke cut off in their final battle on the Death Star. It's a nice gimmick, but totally unnecessary. I don't think collectors are going to be displaying this figure with the cut off hand unless you have this big, huge Death Star diorama with the Emperor and whatnot. So not necessary for me, but it's a nice touch. Overall, very happy with the way it looks. Very happy with the sculpt, the design, but this gimmick, this helmet gimmick, the way it's been executed, it's just really, really annoying because it just, I mean, it won't stay on, which is a shame. Okay, one final thing we should look at is the lightsaber. Okay, and here we go. This is the Kenobi New Hope lightsaber. This middle one is the Empire Strikes Back, and this is the latest lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. I think blade-wise, man, I love the quality of this one. It's a nice, deep, translucent red plastic, but in terms of brightness, this is the brightest one, the Kenobi lightsaber, but it looks the cheapest. This one is the weirdest one. It's pink, which I think is the worst one. In terms of the hilt, I love the sculpting on this new one. It's very, very similar, but I think it's different. There's some subtle differences. This one is the thickest one. I love the way it's painted. I think it's got the best paint apps. In terms of sculpt, overall look, I think the Empire Strikes Back has it, but I think in terms of accuracy, I think the Return of the Jedi one has it. And so some final thoughts on this Black Series 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi Darth Vader. It's a very, very good looking figure. If you're just looking to display this figure on your shelf, maybe in packaging, it'll look great. Playability, that's the thing that suffers the most with this figure because of that poorly executed removable helmet gimmick. It's a shame because the helmet is beautifully sculpted. The gimmick on paper should work nicely. I don't understand what happened during the design and manufacturing. I don't know, somebody must have dropped the ball on measuring stuff here, or maybe they lacked the budget for certain tabbing mechanisms. But that mask should have been able to tab tightly onto the lower part of the helmet, and that top part of the helmet, that main helmet itself, should lock onto place. But instead, what they gave us was really a loose-fitting helmet on the Darth Vader head sculpt, which can really be annoying when you're playing with this figure. They've been doing this for a long time now. They've been in the game for years, for decades. They should have been able to fix that. And it pains me to see that this figure, which looks to be the best Darth Vader we have, just suffers a lot because of that improperly executed helmet gimmick. So I want to give this figure a 10. In fact, I was prepared to give this one an 11. But because of that helmet, maybe a 9.5 out of 10. Because the figure just means so much to me. The character means so much to me. It's just a shame that they dropped the ball on that helmet gimmick. So 9.5 out of 10. And now I realize why a lot of collectors out here in Manila have been selling this figure almost immediately after purchasing them. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this Star Wars The Black Series 40th Anniversary Return of the Jedi retro carded Darth Vader. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.